We are live today for a pre-race predictions live stream on the channel for the Ruoff Mortgage 500 at the Phoenix International Raceway. Live commentary will be coming up at the bottom of the hour, but here at the top of the hour, we're going to talk about all things with this race, our predictions going into this one, both for you guys down in the chat. I will be looking at that throughout the course of this live stream, commenting on some of your guys' maybe questions or thoughts coming into this, as well as my own predictions for this race. Like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as we are getting into today's set of action. So a triple header once again today. We have the predictions right now, obviously being live streamed at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Later at the bottom of the hour, we are going to be commentating, or I will be commentating, the live race once again this weekend for the NASCAR Cup Series side. Post-race live stream will be immediately following the end of that race. You'll get to hear driver interviews and much more throughout the course of it. But as far as our predictions go today, it's just going to be myself talking. You're not going to see any graphics in this one. I had to throw together the stats a little bit late compared to usual, or it took me a long time compared to usual, and I have less stats to go over, unfortunately, because the website that I use, driveraverages.com, was down today. I use that for all of the race predictions. I go through all the stats of all the drivers. I could see on Racing Reference where they finished each specific race in that order, but it only goes race by race by race. I can't actually click on a driver and find their stats at that track and where they finished, how many laps led, and all that for every single time they raced at that track. I can't find that on Racing Reference for every driver. Driver averages I can. Unfortunately, driver averages was down for whatever reason today. So between all morning and then into the early afternoon, I was not able to get those stats, unfortunately. But I do have these stats for a few drivers to look out for today, both for the right and wrong reasons. So we'll get into that real quickly. Alex Bowman, fake Alex Bowman, of course. Billy Kramer, Tristan Heidenkamp, welcome to the stream. We got 9 people watching the pre-race already today. Again, this is live stream because we are doing the live commentary a little later. Only have one driver today on the don't have list that you guys should not put in your fantasy lineup today. He's a driver I know for a fact is not good at Phoenix, and I have his stats to back it up for this racetrack, and that would be Alex Bowman, last week's winner at Las Vegas. I do not think Bowman will get a top 10 today. In fact, he has not finished in the top 10 in his last 8 starts at Phoenix, which is since he took over for Dale Earnhardt Jr. full-time at Hendrick Motorsports in 2018. He has finished 13th or worse in all 8 starts. He was also 19th in practice yesterday to add on top of it, so they did not unload quickly. He did put together a fast lap in qualifying, but I think that's more of a trimmed out car. We saw last week, and even at Auto Club 2, where we saw some drivers qualify towards the front, drop to the back in stage 1, and then try to work themselves forward, get their car figured out then, because they would lose the track position. Now, I do think track position will matter more at Phoenix than what it has in the first 2 intermediate racetracks of the season. Of course, it's more of a short track, so that is one reason, and it's a lot flatter than both Auto Club and Las Vegas. It's not as widened out with the groove. I know the PJ1 and the Traction Compound tries to make it seem that way, but it is primarily one groove track. It's a lot harder to pass here than what it is at those other 2 racetracks. It's a lot tighter confined. Again, it's much flatter. So I do expect the qualifying to maybe be a little bit better for the driver's hands in this one, but I still think that Bowman in specifics is going to drop back in the start of today's race. He qualified 9th, but I think he's more on the trimmed out side of things, again, considering he was 19th in practice yesterday, and he hasn't finished better than 13th here in the last 8 starts. It's not good for Alex Bowman and Alex Bowman fans. So sorry for the fake Alex Bowman in the chat. Probably didn't want to hear that, but I'm sorry to break the news to you. He's not in my fantasy league lineup today, and I don't think he should be in your guys' either. If you have him, take him out. I would, honestly, the other 3 Hendrick Chevys are much better than Alex Bowman at Phoenix. I think he'll have a better shot with them. Now, as far as him being the only driver in the don't haves list, there are some other drivers who I know haven't performed well here. At least last season they didn't run well, but again, because the driveraverages.com was down, I couldn't actually fact check more specific drivers. So I went into detail with Alex Bowman there. I can confidently say in my predictions that he will not get a top 10 today, and he'll make it 9 straight finishes at Phoenix that he will not finish inside the top 10. You could also join the NASCAR League or the Fantasy League on the NASCAR mobile app or website. I should have said that before we got into this predictions video. You can join the league. It is free to join. All you have to do is sign up with your email. Search for KRC League, KRC in all caps League. I'll actually put it down in the comments section right now, the name title of the league. So you can search for that, and when you do search for that, you can just play. I mean, again, it is free to join. You got a chance to win 2 tickets to any NASCAR race if you're choosing in 2023 if you win the regular season or the playoff championship. So now we have a fake Denny Hamlin in the chat too, calling Alex Bowman a hack. Oh, what do we have going on here? We got a fake Alex Bowman. We got a fake Denny Hamlin arguing at the start of the predictions video. Rivalry heading into Phoenix today. It is a short track. Those two could get into it. You never know. As far as, I don't think that'll happen, first and foremost. So I get shocked whenever any rivalry comes to fruition because you just don't expect it majority of the time, unless it's like Logano and Busch or Logano and Hamlin. That's really about the only ones you expect. Maybe Keselowski ruffling, Kyle Busch's feathers or something. Like, that's normal, but anything outside of that is pretty rare, I guess you would say, or shocking when it happens. As far as the sleeper predictions or the dark horse predictions for today, I do have 2 drivers that I think would be good dark horse picks to potentially not only have a good run, but maybe have a shot to win at the end of the race. I'm not fully sold on these 2 drivers as far as winning today's race specifically, but I do think they'll have good runs. At the bare minimum, they will have a top 10 finish at the end of the day. Sleeper picks are where I've been golden this year when it comes to predictions. I have a 500 record with the don't have drivers. I have a less than 500 record with the drivers that I tell you to put in your lineup every week. But with the sleeper picks, I'm 4-2 this season. And I think Aric Almirola is going to make it 4 straight top 10s today. That is my bold prediction for the day. I think Aric Almirola will have 4 straight top 10s at the end of Phoenix. Why? Phoenix is probably his best short track on the NASCAR Cup Series circuit. In the last 8 races here, which are his only 8 races at Phoenix in Stewart-Haas Racing Equipment, he has 5 top 10s, and he has a best finish of 4th, which is twice. In both races in 2020, he finished in 4th place, and then he also, I believe, had that 5th place finish back in 2018 as well. So look out for Aric Almirola. He's had some good runs. He qualified 5th yesterday. He wasn't as fast in practice, so maybe he's more on the trimmed outside, and that's kind of been the case with Almirola this year. He's qualified well. He's dropped to the back, but he's been a driver that's at least gotten the finish at the end of the day. They've worked on that car throughout the course of the race. You saw that at Auto Club. You saw that at Las Vegas, and I think you'll see that again today. I think he'll kind of fade outside the top 10 early on, and somewhere or another they'll get that car to where Aric Almirola needs it and wants it to be, and he's proved to have good finishes. Not only he has just the 5 top 10s in the last 8 starts at Phoenix, again, 4th place twice, he has finished 13th or better in 7 of those 8 starts. He's only finished worse than 13th once, and that was a 22nd place finish in the 2019 fall race. So look out for Aric Almirola today. Again, I say he gets a top 10. I want to see what the chat thinks about that. We still got the argument between the Bowman and the Hamlin down in the chat. Come on, guys. Whoever that is. This is a family-friendly channel. And thanks for everybody tuning in. I haven't shouted everybody out for the predictions video. It's going to be hard to do that in the live race commentary as well. I do my best. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I see some of the originals for Express, Billy Kramer in here as well. Ashton G. Some of the others that I have not already called out in this one. So I do expect Almirola to get a top 10. I also expect Austin Cindric to get a top 10, the rookie. He's very good at Phoenix. We saw that the last couple years in the Xfinity Series. In his last 3 Xfinity Series starts, he has 2 wins and a 2nd place finish in the championship race there last season. By a hair. By a hair, he finished 2nd. So he almost won 3 in a row there. We know he's very good at this racetrack. He was 8th in qualifying yesterday, but he was also fastest in practice. So I don't think he is just trimmed out. I think he is fast all the way around. Expect him with the track position up at the front of the field at the start of the race to hold on to that track position for most of the day. Maybe get some stage points throughout. But again, at the end of the day, I think Cindric will get a top 10 like Almirola in this one as well. So those are my 2 sleeper picks for today. and it's up to your discretion whether you want to use them or not in your fantasy lineups, but I do think that they will get top 10s. Again, if you could trust any of my predictions so far based on the analysis from the first 3 races this year, it's the sleeper picks. I'm 4-2. I feel confident with these 2 picks here today as well. I also feel confident with the must-have drivers this weekend. Now, I feel confident with them and most confident every week. It hasn't totally gone that way. Now, the one thing with the must-have drivers this year, they have had good runs and fast cars. They just can't seem to make it to the end of the race. Like Kyle Busch, what was it? Kyle Busch at Auto Club. He had that mechanical failure. I thought he was, gonna do something. He still came back from like 5 laps down, whatever it was, 6 laps down to finish 13th. So he didn't get a top 10 like I said he would, or at least compete for the win. But you never know what could happen there. I thought Joey Logano was going to be a lot better last week than what he was. He really disappointed, but he still ended up with a good finish at the end of the race. Regardless of the fact, we'll see what I have. And then I had Logano for the Daytona 500 also as my win pick, and he had a fast car there and unfortunately got caught up in a wreck that was nothing of his own doing. But these 2 drivers are ones you should absolutely have in your fantasy lineups this week, and then my driver to win. We'll start off with the guy who is the GOAT at Phoenix, Kevin Harvick. Harvick has 17 straight top 10 finishes at Phoenix. Let that sink in. 17 top 10s is ridiculous. I know when we do these predictions, Harvick always shows up at Phoenix every year. There's a reason for that. Even last year when he wasn't that great, he still finished 8th and 6th, and the short tracks were his best runs. Harvick starting this year is looking exactly like he was last year, where he's not really competing for wins, but he's still having good finishes. If you count the Busch Clash, he has 3 top 10s in the 4 races ran this year. A quiet but a solidly good season. He's not running up towards the front a lot, but at the end of the race he is getting there. Kind of similar to how Eric Almirola's season has gone so far. Only Almirola has 3 top 10s to Harvick's 2 in the regular season portion. Harvick's only non-top 10 was the Daytona 500, so again, Kevin Harvick, he might not run there all day, but he can run well. And one bright side with Kevin Harvick, too, even if you look at last season, he shined on the short tracks. The short tracks, by far and away, were his best racetracks last season. This is our first short track in the Cup Series schedule this year. That's not counting the Busch Clash, and obviously is a track that they have gone to before. He is the greatest at this track. Not only those 17 top 10 finishes, he has 12 top 5s in those last 17 races. So it's not just top 10s. He's getting top 5s quite a bit at this racetrack. He has 6 wins in those last 17 starts. 9 career wins total at this racetrack. That's the most all-time. He is the all-time laps led leader at Phoenix as well, with 1,663 laps led. The next closest is Kyle Busch, and it's not even close. He has almost 500 more laps led at Phoenix than Kyle Busch, who is second all time. That is just ridiculous. That's how good Kevin Harvick is at this racetrack. He really turned it on in the early to mid 2010s when they had that reconfiguration in 2011. With this racetrack where you have where it is now. They reconfigured it again in 2017 where they moved the start-finish line to where it is now. It's not on what is now the backstretch, but when they took out the grass and they curved 1 and 2 to be a little bit more round with a bit more banking as well, this layout of Phoenix, Kevin Harvick has been nearly unstoppable. I mean, literally those 17 straight top 10s, you'd have to go back to the spring race in 2013 was the last time Kevin Harvick never finished in the top 10 at Phoenix. I think he will at bare minimum finish in the top 10 today. He's a good pick for your fantasy team. I think he'll score some stage points as well. I think this will be the first race this year Harvick is consistently in the top 10 for most of the day. Ryan Blaney is the next driver on the must-have list today. He's the final driver on the must-have list because, again, I couldn't really pull many stats for the drivers because that website is down. Hopefully it's up by next week at Atlanta, especially with me having to record that video early because I'm going on the road to Atlanta next week. So hopefully the website is back up so I can give you more in-detail stats for more drivers. But as far as this week goes, Ryan Blaney, he looks like the favorite, in my opinion. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Blaney fan. I say that every time I mention him in the must-haves. I put him in the don't-haves for the tracks he's bad at as well. I'm pretty fair with Ryan Blaney. Or I don't talk about him at all if I don't know how he's going to run. But with Ryan Blaney this weekend, this is a car prepared by God himself. This might be the first time ever that I could say definitively that Ryan Blaney may actually not only lead a lot of laps, but win the race he leads a lot of laps in. One thing with Ryan Blaney, he either leads a lot of laps and dominates a race. Usually those are the races he doesn't win for whatever reason. The races he does seem to win are races where he's been in the top 10, top 5 all day, and he gets, a good pit stop or something happens in front of him. He finds himself in the right place at the right time. Talladega 2020 spring race is the only race I can think of where he had the fastest car in the field and won the race. I think today could be one of those days. He was second in practice yesterday by only 9/1000ths of a second behind Austin Cindric, and he qualified on the pole not only in the final round, but he was also fastest in the first round of qualifying. If you go back to the next-gen tests that they had at Phoenix in the middle of the winter, actually not even that long before the season started. I think it was one of the last next-gen tests they had before obviously debuting it at Daytona once again. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was early February when that test took place. It might have been late January now that I think about it because Busch Clash is early February. Anyway, in January, they had the test, and he was fastest. That was the only test we had actually seen what the lap times were for every driver that participated in the test, and Ryan Blaney had the fastest time in that test. I think they're translating the setup and everything they pretty much had for the car that weekend. They're putting it again here this weekend, and it's obviously showing. So he was fastest in the next-gen test at Phoenix. He's fastest in qualifying. He's on the pole. I mentioned track position's going to matter at this track more than the other tracks so far this season just because it's harder to pass at Phoenix than the other tracks we have been to on the Cup Series circuit, and he was second in practice. That is just this year. That is in 2022, and we haven't even raced there yet this year. You look at his stats prior to 2022 at Phoenix, they're also really good. His last 6 starts at Phoenix, he's finished 4th, 10th, 6th. Rough 37th place finish. He DNF'd in the spring race in 2020, 3rd and 3rd. So he has 3 top 4 finishes, 4 top 6 finishes in the last 6 races, and 5 top 10s in the last 6 races. He's not leading a lot of laps at this racetrack, but he is running up in the top 10 all race long. He's scored a lot of stage points. He's getting good finishes, as I just mentioned there. He's finished 4th or better 3 of those last 6 starts, 6 or better 4 of the last 6, and 5 top 10s. Again, I basically just repeated myself there, but that is good for obviously anybody, and Ryan Blaney is the next best driver in the last 6 races at Phoenix compared to a guy like Kevin Harvick. And Kevin Harvick has been, he's been great at Phoenix, like I mentioned. He's got 6 wins in the last 17 races there, but it's been a little while since he has won. It's been 8 races since he's won at Phoenix. So although I don't think Harvick will compete for the win today, I think he's a driver you should absolutely have in your lineup. I think Ryan Blaney's going to win today. That is my prediction. I say Ryan Blaney at least wins one of the 2 stages at the beginning of the race on top of his win, and I also say that Ryan Blaney will lead the most laps today and win the race. That is my bold prediction with Ryan Blaney. I think this is going to be the most dominating race you've ever seen from Ryan Blaney, and the most exciting thing about this is we race at Phoenix for the championship race at the end of the year. If this is the year Ryan Blaney can finally get into the championship for, this is a year he could actually win the championship with, again, the dominance he has shown at Phoenix with the next-gen car early in 2022, whether it was the testing and this weekend before the race actually started. I think that, if he wins today, don't race that car anywhere else this year. Do not I know the next-gen parts shortage is a thing. Do not race this car at another track this year if he puts on a show like I'm hoping he does and like I'm thinking he does, because honestly, if you bring this car back in February or in November at the end of the year for the championship and he has a shot to win it, he's dominating. He's dominating literally every statistical category, not just this weekend, but again in the next-gen test. And they had a 2-day test at Phoenix too. I think he was second the first day to Logano, and he was first the second day to first the second day, and Logano was second. So Logano's fast too. The weird thing with Logano, he wasn't that fast in as fast in qualifying and practice yesterday. He qualified 10th, and he practice timed in at 7th. So, he's fast this weekend too, but he's dropped off from the next-gen test, so I didn't want to put him in here as well. And his stats at Phoenix aren't as good as Blaney's in the last few years. I know he did win the spring race in, what year was that? 2020, I believe. Logano won the spring race in 2020 at Phoenix, and But outside of that, he hasn't really done a whole lot at this racetrack compared to Blaney. All right, time to look at your guys' thoughts in the chat, not only just on that, but just your prediction as well, saying that Hendrick wins. I think they got a good shot. I mean, Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson have ran well here. I'd say Elliott probably has a better shot to win than Larson today. Up until the championship race last season at Phoenix, Larson's not that great here. He's okay, but by Kyle Larson standards compared to other tracks, I'd say Elliott is better at Phoenix. So if somebody were to win from Hendrick Motorsports today, I would not be shocked if it was Chase Elliott. Brandon Wilson, welcome to the stream as well. City Born Country Raised USA, welcome to the stream. He was the one that said that Hendrick is going to win, even though Harvick has struggled lately. Don't count him out. He has 9 wins. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly why Harvick is in this. Again, 17 straight top 10s for Kevin Harvick at Phoenix as well, so not just the wins. He's the all-time laps leader as well by almost 500 over Kyle Busch. Bold prediction is Billy Kramer says William Byron again today. So is that your prediction to win, Billy? I think Billy has William Byron winning today. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to say the least. I think he can have a good run. He's had good runs here in the past. Fernies, welcome to the stream. Hello to all from Fontana, California. Hopefully you enjoyed the race there a couple weeks ago if you were there. In-car camera's not up yet. Chevy is tough so far. I'd say Ford has been the best manufacturer so far. I know Chevy does have 2 wins to Ford's 1. But when you look at the consistent speed rolling into the race weekend, like in practice and qualifying, and then the race itself, I think Ford's has been better. Now, Ford's took a big step back last week at Las Vegas, which was kind of shocking considering the fact of how good they were at Daytona, and even at Auto Club they were really good too. But yeah, they took a step back at Las Vegas, but unloading on speed this weekend, they're back at it again. I mean, again, Blaney dominated. Cindric was really fast again. Logano was top 10 in practice and qualifying. Almirola qualified 5th, so Chase Briscoe qualified 6th again. Looking at the starting lineup here. So the Fords, I think, are back again this weekend. Harvick's really good at Phoenix, so I think you could count more on the Fords again to, as a manufacturer as a whole, to run better. Outside of Hendrick this weekend, for Chevrolet, I think this is a very small step back for the teams like Petty GMS, Richard Childress Racing, that have ran well to start this season. I think they'll drop back just a little bit. And by drop back, I mean like maybe back half of the top 10 consistently today, kind of like how RCR was last week. Or like those teams were last week. I guess they were back half of the top 10. Like 11th to 15th is still, a good run at least for those teams. All things considered, not by how this season has gone so far, but in years past. And I kind of feel like that's where they'll run today. Also going to put MTJ in your lineup. Yeah, he's been good at Phoenix the last couple years, but his stats compared to like Blaney and Harvick specifically, of what I could find, and I would say even Denny Hamlin and Busch have been just as good, if not better, at Phoenix in recent years than Truex. Truex does have a win there last season, but you could go back further with consistency with Hamlin and Busch and Blaney and Harvick. You can go back further, like more than just the last 4 races there. So that's why I feel more confident with those guys than Truex, who does have good runs in the last 4 races there, but it's a really small sample size compared to everybody else that I mentioned. I mean, even Almirola's got 7 finishes in the top 13 in the last 8 races. That's why he's a sleeper for me to get another top 10 today. Denny, Reddick, and Blaney. Some good picks, Yeah, I do have my fantasy lineup. Once the live stream starts for the actual live race commentary, we'll definitely get into that a little bit more. Final thoughts, though, on Phoenix today. I want to see your guys' prediction to win before we end this predictions live stream. We'll go live for the live race commentary here in a couple of minutes. I don't want to be late for that stream. I have to refill my water, so we'll time this predictions live stream out in the next 60 seconds. I see Tim Irvin in the chat. He stated that I shaved my beard. I did not shave my beard. My beard is still here. It is just shorter than what it usually is. That's all. It's trimmed. It was well groomed before. It was longer, but it was still well groomed. It was maintained. What happened was So when I was like shaping the sides of it like 3 days before I actually like just decided to trim it down as short as I did, it was only because I trimmed it in too far on the jawline, and it had too weird of a point that didn't look natural to me. And I had it for like 2 to 3 days, and I kind of got tired of looking at it, and it was bothering me psychologically. So I was like, I just got to trim it down, start from scratch again. It takes a little bit to get it, that long and good for that long. So, I mean, another month or two, it'll be back. It's a process. Hamlin wins, according to Fur Express. He needs a good run. And that's why I didn't want to throw Hamlin in here either. It's just because he hasn't been that great with the next gen car so far. I think he just got in the top 30 in points after last week. I don't know. I do not know. Alrighty. Yeah, we'll end this stream. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in for the predictions. Again, it's a half hour shorter today because of the driveraverages.com website was down, so it took me a bit longer to pull the stats in that I shared with you guys in this predictions video. I tried to give you guys the best analysis possible, so it had to take me a little bit more time to be able to do that today. And, of course, losing that hour of sleep probably didn't help either last night, so the combination of the two, mostly the driveraverages.com website being down, it was really hard for me to find these stats and kind of put them together today. I was literally going on Racing Reference, clicking on one race, searching down the list of the finishing results, where they finish, okay, and then typing it so that way I had that there, and then I'd go to the next race. So like for Harvick's, literally to get the 17 straight top times, I kid you not, I went through each individual race, saw where he finished, jotted it down, and then went to the next race, and jotted it down, went to the next race, then did the math of like, okay, how many top five. Instead, driver averages, it puts it all together for you, so it's really easy to find that stuff, but it was really hard today. Anyway, thank you again for watching. Like, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content, live commentary coming up in a couple of moments.